NADECO calls upon the people and the judiciary of Nigeria and international community to join hands in a concerted effort toward global condemnation and absolute rejection of the hasty, hollow, and illegitimate result declared by INEC as being contrary to the will of the people and the rule of law.
The political space in Nigeria has been thrown into chaos. The judiciary has also taken its own fair share of the chaotic occurrences. I'm talking about the fact that the case involving INEC and the Labour Party and the APC, of course, is still inconclusive. And of course, if you're no visitor in Nigeria, even if you are in diaspora, you will know that this electoral process that is being questioned by all, including the international community, this electoral process is inconclusive and has been rendered unacceptable. Still on the electoral process, I have something very important for you today, a video of a conference in Washington, D.C. as at last night, all right? This video is going to get all Nigerians to stay glued to their television screens and to their phone screens, because what I have for you on this video is the most important evidence and the most important decree you're going to hear concerning the shambolic elections that INEC oversaw a fortnight ago. Watch this video. This video comes straight from NADECO, from NADECO press conference held in Washington, D.C. yesterday. NADECO means the National Democratic Coalition. That's the full meaning of NADECO. NADECO is a very strong political organization resident in diaspora, specifically in Washington, D.C., in the USA. They had a press conference yesterday. For you not to get bored on this particular segment of what I have for you, I will give you these videos in segments, and I'm going to explain bit by bit, analyze little by little. And as we watch the first video, I will let you pay attention. When we come back, I talk about it. I show you the second one, and we'll also talk about it. Watch the first video, the pronouncements by NADECO yesterday during their conference in Washington, D.C. We'll be back with more analysis.
And the people of Nigeria. NADECO welcomes you to the first of its series of events planned over the next several weeks regarding the recently held presidential election in Nigeria. NADECO alleges that the election results pronounced by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, on February 25 through 26, 2023, are fundamentally at odds with Nigerian election laws and constitute a wholesale disenfranchisement of Nigerian voters caused by the pervasive rot of Nigeria's increasingly kleptocratic political structure. NADECO demands that INEC draw back its curtains to let the full light of truth prove the transparency and veracity of the 2023 electoral process. It is without question that nearly all of the electoral reforms implemented to safeguard the 2023 Nigerian elections have been savaged by INEC and scattered to the winds of tyranny. It is beyond debate that initial investigation into the 2023 Nigerian presidential election discloses that Nigeria's most recent election is the polar opposite of transparency, fairness, and electoral integrity. This election was polluted by blatant bribery and widespread corruption. Even INEC itself has admitted to its abject failures to comply with the requisite transparency laws mandating real-time electronic transmission of election results from the polling units to the public, instead opting to cloak the electronic results in darkness before emerging with a declared rather than proved winner who is presently incapable of being fully embraced by the world. The INEC action clearly constitutes negligence per se and electoral fraud, as it violated the very statutory provisions and guidelines that are designed to protect against the type of fraud caused by its failure to transmit the results in real time. The people of Nigeria are supposed to be the ones the statute is designed to protect. Instead, they have found themselves at the receiving end of the resulting gross injustice. NADECO maintains that the 2023 presidential election is an attempt to disenfranchise the Nigerian people through the four horsemen of democracy's doom: bribery, voter intimidation, insecurity, and vote rigging, all harnessed to skew the results of the 2023 presidential election. NADECO calls upon the people and the judiciary of Nigeria and international community to join hands in a concerted effort toward global condemnation and absolute rejection of the hasty, hollow, and illegitimate result declared by INEC as being contrary to the will of the people and the rule of law. NADECO is gravely concerned about the irregularities, voter intimidation, violence, the breach of the National Electoral Act, and most importantly, the abrupt and hurried pronouncement of the dubious 2023 presidential election results. This, in our viewpoint, signals a whole disenfranchisement of voters in Africa's largest nation. NADECO's goals and singular mandate have always been to fight for the rule of law and democracy in Nigeria as Nigeria's watchdog of democracy.
All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is still Nation's Voice Tower, your favorite YouTube channel. That was the spokesperson of NADECO there. I told you initially that NADECO means the National Democratic Coalition. It is a political society or a political association that is found in diaspora. Let me tell you what NADECO has been up to throughout the years. A lot of you will ask, where has NADECO been? Where have all these international associations been throughout the years? Don't get it twisted. NADECO has always been in existence. Where, how, and why? Let me let you know. Let me let you in. Information is power, don't forget. So when you're told anything, you should always grab a bit of info from it. Let me give you a brief history of what NADECO has been up to. Now, the National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, has been in existence since 1994, all right? Yes, and that particular association is Nigeria's premier and most foremost pro-democratic group established in 1994. I told you before. Now, by respectable individuals, all right, very, very respectable individuals. I'm going to break the ice as you heard in that video. I will break the ice for you. Now, these respectable individuals saw the need to take power away from the self-acclaimed dictator then, the former head of state of Nigeria, talking about General Sani Abacha. Of course, during the 1993 elections, Abacha came into power after taking it away from MKO Abiola. Now, NADECO has been concerned with the issue of good governance in Nigeria for a very, very long while now, right from its establishment. That is what NADECO has been all about, or has been up to throughout the years. Now, let us see the involvement of NADECO in these particular election results that were being produced by INEC, or that have been given by INEC. Now, NADECO has alleged a lot of things over the just concluded presidential elections. And NADECO is one association that when pronouncements are made by this particular association, then you will know that it's not only talking on its accord. NADECO is talking on the accord of the U.S. government, all right? NADECO is talking on the power and on the mandate of the White House, all right? That is one of the sources of political strength that NADECO has got over time. Now, NADECO, let us get the straight allegations of NADECO. NADECO alleges that the results produced by the Independent National Electoral Commission are fundamentally at odds with the Nigerian election laws, and of course they constitute a wholesale of disenfranchisement, of course, of Nigerian voters, okay, caused by the form of political structure in the country. That is what NADECO has alleged. Now, NADECO has got a lot of demands to make, right, over the results that were produced by INEC few days ago, or a fortnight ago. Let me get you straight to the point, all right? NADECO demands that INEC withdraw back her cuttings for a form of credibility to be returned to the commission, and let the timelight, I beg your pardon, the timelight of truth prove the transparency of the presidential elections. That's one of the demands of NADECO. NADECO is so strong that when they come into a particular political issue like this, NADECO tends to have almost whatever they want at when they want it. Let me give you the next demand of NADECO. NADECO said in its video there, NADECO said it is beyond debate that after thorough investigation into the 2023 Nigerian elections, of course, NADECO has disclosed that the just concluded presidential elections is the polar opposite of the transparency, fairness, and electoral integrity that the commission stands for. This is coming straight from, of course, the tables of international observers found in NADECO. All right, let me still give you another demand of NADECO, and then you'll be shocked. Of course, it's not for Nigerians to just listen to this. Nigerians should also pay attention to this and know that something is being done about the unacceptable presidential results produced by INEC a fortnight ago. Okay, NADECO maintains that the elections is an attempt to disenfranchise Nigerians through a kind of four horsemen of democratic doom. Of course, these four horsemen are bribery, voter intimidation, insecurity, and vote rigging. Okay, and it was brought up to like a kind of deliberately skew results of the election this time around. These are the allegations that NADECO have leveled over or on the board of INEC, which is supposed to be the general umpire to make sure and to see to credibility of elections in Nigeria. I will allow you to watch the next video, and after watching this video is very, very interesting. It's in fact more interesting than the first one. It is still on the NADECO conference, all right? Talking about NADECO's disengagement from one of its members. And after that video, I'm going to tell you why it is disengaging itself from this particular member of theirs, all right? When we come back, we'll talk about this video. Watch it.
NADECO hereby, as a first step, formally severs its relationship with Senator Bola Ahmed Tinibu as a former founding member of NADECO USA for his participation in the worst electoral fraud in Nigeria's recent history. NADECO and Tinibu fought Abacha as the military dictator who scuttled the will of the Nigerian people in 1993 June 12 elections. Ironically, exactly 30 years later, in 2023, NADECO is fighting the same species of dictatorship, but only this time a much more dangerous civilian dictatorship, a kleptocracy mostly perpetuated by one of those who fought Abacha then. NADECO will not look the other way simply because the fraud was perpetrated by one of its founding members. NADECO urges the Biden administration to withhold any recognition of the product of the flawed elections.
Obviously, I have a lot for you. Obviously, I have many things for you this time around. You heard it all there from the spokesperson. NADECO formally limited its relationship with one of its founding fathers, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinibu. This is going crazy right now. And then, of course, it will shock you to know that Senator Bola Ahmed Tinibu was one of the founding fathers and those who put on pressure on General Sani Abacha when he took over power in 1993. He was one of the pioneer members of the NADECO, which is, of course, pointing at the fact that right now, Tinibu cannot really continue with his supposed presidency because NADECO and Tinibu fought Abacha. Of course, they fought Abacha ironically, and approximately 30 years later, 2023 now, NADECO is fighting the same species of dictatorship. That is a sort of kleptocracy and a very dangerous civilian dictatorship. That's what it stems this sort of kleptocracy as. All right. Now, this particular kleptocracy or dictatorship, as NADECO has termed it, is mostly or has been mostly perpetrated by one of those who fought Abacha then, talking about Bola Tinibu. But NADECO won't throw her eyes away because it is coming from one of its own. It is said that NADECO will take drastic actions on these shambolic elections that was just conducted a fortnight ago by INEC. I will allow you to watch another video, and then after watching this video, we'll talk of this particular video. This video is also from the NADECO conference. Don't get it twisted. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back.
NADECO further entreats the U.S. Congress to introduce a resolution calling on the U.S. administration not to recognize the product of the election. It is the product of a poisonous tree. NADECO calls on the international community to support the empaneling of a team of internationally acclaimed technical experts to examine, interrogate, and analyze the INEC servers and beavers and all the other equipments that were used to extract the original votes and information. NADECO implores the Nigerian people and the judiciary of Nigeria, acting in concert with the international community, to join together in a concerted effort toward global condemnation and absolute rejection of the hasty, hollow, and illegitimate results declared by INEC as being contrary to the will of the people and rule of law. NADECO demands that the chairman of Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, must resign or be removed immediately. NADECO urgently requests that all countries worldwide, especially the United States, place an immediate visa ban upon Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. NADECO solemnly exhorts the U.S. to not deviate from its democratic standards in Africa just because it fears competition with China and seeks to curry favor with illegitimate dictators who come to power through bribery, force, intimidation, and vote rigging. The U.S. should come out and condemn the apparent corruption of the electoral process and impose an immediate visa ban on those suspected to have compromised the polls. NADECO demands that President Buhari and INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu should be held jointly and severally liable and accountable by the Nigerian courts and international community for what is currently happening across Nigeria in the days following the 2023 elections and for what would happen in the next few weeks or months should INEC's noxious banquet be forced down Nigeria's throats. These are the positions that NADECO would like to put out there for the international community. People in Nigeria are going to court, but we are appealing to the court of public opinion to see what happened in Nigeria. We're basically challenging the process.
All right, welcome back. You watched that video there. Now, the video is talking about still what NADECO want to take place as regards the results of the elections. Now, let me give it to you step by step. Now, NADECO urges the U.S. government or the U.S. Congress to introduce a resolution calling on the U.S. administration not to recognize the product of the election as it is the product of a poisonous tree, according to NADECO. All right, NADECO calls on the international community to support the assemblage of a team of internationally acclaimed technical experts, okay, to scrutinize, examine, interrogate the INEC materials, both electronic and manual. This is one of the demands of NADECO this time around. Now, NADECO also demand the quick resignation or removal of the Independent National Electoral Commission chairman, that's Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. And of course, NADECO begs the US and also all countries for a visa ban on the chairman from all trips to these countries, including the USA. This is the last demand of NADECO as regards the unacceptable results of the presidential elections a fortnight ago. I have a new video for you, still on the NADECO conference. Of course, I told you that the NADECO conference had lots of information for us, especially as it concerns the 2023 presidential elections, and they have they have lots of decrees and lots of demands to the U.S. government, not the Nigerian government now, to the U.S. government. And I'm going to allow you to watch the next video. This video is quite more interesting than the formal ones you've just watched on this same program. Save Loot to Nations Voice Tower. We'll be back for more analysis after this video.
And we were participant observers in the election that just held in Nigeria, or should I clarify, the sham elections that just held in Nigeria. And the Beavers technology refused to accredit me, so I experienced disenfranchisement right there and then. I know that at least half a dozen of my family members who voted in 2019 were unable to vote this time because of the cash crunch that occurred in the economy. So there were systematic efforts to disenfranchise and intimidate or strangle voters from being able to participate. But you can imagine my shock after monitoring in Benue, Plateau, and FCT and seeing thousands of Nigerians peacefully coming out to vote, to see that the results were not uploaded. Now, just to show you the extent of the mischief that occurred, the results for the National Assembly elections, which occurred at the same time, simultaneously with the presidential results, were able to be uploaded, but the presidential election results were not uploaded. And till this day, as we speak, the results have not even been completely uploaded. What is even shocking is that we have seen photographs of individuals, a woman in a bathroom, uploaded supposedly as results on INEC's IRF page till this day. How can you elect someone on the basis of the photograph of a woman in the bathroom? I want to quickly mention that a lot of the international observers who were there were as disenchanted as I was. There were 4 African presidents, former presidents, who were in Nigeria to observe the elections. There were over 144,000 observers deployed across the country, and they all were disenchanted by what they saw. I want to say that what happened in Nigeria was not election observation, but a crime watch. We watched a crime being perpetrated on a country of 200 million people with utter and complete impunity. The sad point is that one of our co-travelers, in the effort to restore democracy to Nigeria, is now complicit in undermining democracy in Nigeria. I want to wrap up my remarks by making a couple of points. That it is not that the elections in Nigeria were handled badly, but that the rigging in Nigeria was handled badly. There was no effort, there was no sincere effort to conduct an election in Nigeria. What happened was an insincere effort to conduct rigging. And that is why you will see cancellations. You will see unbelievable atrocities that were done. They didn't even make a genuine effort to hide the manipulation of the elections. I also want to make this second point, that it isn't that they failed to meet global standards, but that they failed to meet even their own standards. There is no way that INEC can say that the travesty that occurred was what they had promised time and time and again. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that I join my voice to what NADECO has said today. The INEC chairman needs to resign for once again betraying the trust of the Nigerian people. The United States government should not dignify the travesty that has occurred by legitimizing illegitimate rulers. And most importantly, we must not fail the young Nigerians who came out in droves in the sun and put their fate in their own hands, that they wanted to rescue their country from bad leadership, only to be abused and misused in this manner.
Yes, welcome back. Do you know who that was? That was an international participant observer. He is also a human rights activist and a lawyer. All right, his name is Emmanuel Ogede. All right, Emmanuel Ogede is the coordinator to the Democratic Election Monitoring Observers. All right, internationally, Emmanuel Ogede is an international observer that was resident in Nigeria during the 2023 presidential elections. He came to observe from USA, although he's a Nigerian by birth. He came to observe from the USA as a form of international duty. Now, of course, he has spoken there, and you heard what he said. He spoke about the reasons why the results are yet to be completely uploaded. Till date, not all the presidential results are or have been uploaded till date on the IRF. All right. He also said why will the voting for the House of Reps and that of the House of Senate quickly be uploaded at the IRF, but the most important one, which is the presidential elections, wasn't uploaded until date. There are no complete uploads of the results of the presidential elections. All right. He specified different irregularities as observed during the elections. Of course, he went as far as shocking us with the fact that a woman, if a photograph of a woman in a bathroom was even uploaded on IRF as a form or as a result. Can you imagine what INEC is doing to our political system in Nigeria? Now, lots of lots of international figures, I beg your pardon, were present during this particular election. And then, of course, he said too that 4 former African presidents were present to witness the election, the presidential election, a fortnight ago. He also shocked us to say that over 144,000 international observers were deployed across the country. And he said that, of course, they didn't come to witness an election observation. Rather, they came to witness a crime watch. That is what Mr. Emmanuel Ogedi, an international observer, said about what he observed during the 2023 presidential elections. Is this not sad enough to talk about a country that is as vast as Nigeria, a country that is as developed as Nigeria? Let me tell you how good Nigeria is. Now, the final part, I'm calling this the last straw that will break the camel's back, all right? Yes, don't get away. This particular video I'm bringing to you next is also from the press conference yesterday, or from NADECO also, but this is quite more surprising. Okay, watch this video. It is from of course not somebody from Nigeria, and Mr. Bruce is the general counsel to NADECO. Of course, he's from the US, and he has something to say. Of course, if he is speaking, you should know that he is speaking not only with the voice of NADECO, but he is speaking with the voice of the US and the US Congress. Listen to what Mr. Bruce has to say over Nigeria. And of course, he said many interesting things about Nigeria, things you don't even know as a Nigerian citizen. I would like you to watch this expository video, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the analytical part and the political analysis of what Mr. Bruce said there. Watch this video. Don't get it twisted. We'll be back shortly.
Why should we care about Nigeria? Why should the United States care about Nigeria? Why should the international community care about Nigeria? What would you say if I told you that there was a country that has arguably the world's oldest democracy with full participation of all of its members? What would you say if I told you that there is a country where a group of people has the oldest written constitution featuring guarantees for individual freedom and due process in the world? What would you say if I told you there was a country that featured full participation of women in its political system, both to vote and to govern? And they started doing this when Europe was in the Dark Ages, in the 800s. What would you say if I told you there was a country that is consistently in the top 10 of oil-producing nations since the 1980s? What would you say if I told you this same country has never been openly antagonistic or antagonistic to the United States, has never been an enemy of the United States, in fact, has never been an enemy of the West? What would you say if I told you this very same country has the greatest number of doctors living in the United States of America per capita than any other nation in the world? More than England, more than Russia, more than Germany. What would you say if I told you that 29% of the immigrants from this country over the age of 25 hold a graduate degree, when you compare that to 11% of the population of the United States over the age of 25 holding a graduate degree? This country has almost 3 times more people holding graduate degrees here in the United States, contributing to our economy and our well-being and our security. What would you say if I told you the same country has 45% of the involvement of its people, the immigrants that live here, the diaspora, in education services, and most are professors at top universities? What would you say if I told you the same country I'm talking about they're entering the medical fields and the technological fields in a rapidly expanding rate? They're increasing the U.S. economy. They are entrepreneurs. They are making America better, building tech companies in the United States to help the people back home. Would anybody be able to guess that country was in Africa? Would anybody be able to guess that country is Nigeria? Because it is. That's Nigeria. So when you say, why Nigeria, it is almost a fool's question. One of the greatest nations that has all of these things going for it, and yet we constantly turn our back on Nigeria. Shouldn't we be favoring this nation? Shouldn't we be more attentive to this nation? Shouldn't we treat this nation, this giant of an entire continent, not of a region or an area, of an entire continent that stands out as a shining beacon? Shouldn't we treat them as especially favored allies of the United States and indeed of the West? Especially given the insecurity in the world today with issues relating to extremism and energy shortages. Don't you think that this is a nation that the world should readily leap to the fore to protect, to ensure the well-being so it can continue on its pathway to greatness? Yeah, we're talking about Nigeria, the largest nation in Africa. It is the wealthiest nation in Africa, and yet it's the poorest country in the world. Nigeria now has more people living below the poverty line than any other nation in the world, which is a remarkable feat, given that there are 234 million people in Nigeria and approximately 1.4 billion people in India, the former dubious leader of world's poverty. How can we let that happen? How can we turn our back? How is that possible? Nigeria is also the site of the largest genocidal slaughter the world has seen since World War II. And yet nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to do anything about it. I am here very proud to be involved with NADECO because NADECO wants to do something about that. Something is very, very, very wrong. And it starts with the ability to choose your leaders in full, open, and fair elections. Nigeria has descended into a kleptocracy. And what that means is theft is the coin of the realm. Not due process, not laws, not fundamental fairness, not the pursuit of happiness, not freedom, not family, not religion, not work, not prosperity, but who can steal the most first and go back and steal some more. And that is something that I believe the Nigerian people can solve on their own, but they're going to have the help. We cannot continue to turn our back on Nigeria. INEC glorified their efforts to make this the cleanest, the purest, the most transparent and fair election in Nigerian history, in African history. And yet they violated every single fundamental tenet in every single law.
Yes, let me break it down a little bit. A lot of you will be asking who can come to our aid, who can help us in this particular electoral process, who could, of course, serve as succor for us. Don't forget, there are the international communities that have been present since independence, all right? That was what Mr. Bruce there, the General Counsel to NADECO, was saying. Now, he spoke on he spoke on all the objectives of NADECO. And then he said that one of the objectives of NADECO is always trying to keep democracy safe by all means. Now, let me break it down to you. Why do you think the international community will be interested in Nigeria? Why do you think the U.S. government, the U.S. Congress will be interested in Nigeria? Okay, listen. Now, Mr. Bruce there gave us different endowments of Nigeria that we don't even know about. Let me give it to you. First of all, he said, of course, population-wise, Nigeria is blessed. And then Nigeria has a high rate of foreign contributions, especially in the US. You may not know this. Let me go down. According to Mr. Bruce, in petroleum, of course, he said Nigeria has been consistently in the top 10 of oil-producing countries during the last 30 years. In fact, since 1980. That was what Mr. Bruce said there. These are parts of Nigeria's economic development that US admires so much and have made a very, very good and very positive relationship between the governments of Nigeria and the Congress of US. Now listen, I have more intriguing news for you. According to Mr. Bruce said that over 29% of adults over 25 years are graduates in Nigeria. Can you imagine? That is further to say that the US, according to Mr. Bruce, have just 11% of their population over 25 years holding a graduate degree. And Nigeria has over 29% of people over 25 years being university graduates. Can you see that Nigeria is highly placed, that is education-wise, than people in the US, especially as it pertains this particular age grade? Now let me go forward. Now, he further said that Nigeria is a democratic nation and it is one of the oldest democratic systems that have been found in Africa, all right? This is what Nigeria has been, and we're playing with our country this way. Don't get it twisted. Now, he said that Nigeria has never been an enemy of the US, of course, right from inception, and Nigeria has the greatest number of doctors in the USA, more than any other nation in the world. Can you imagine? Nigeria is highly blessed and highly endowed, and we're here playing with our democracy like this, all right? Now listen to this. He said that Nigeria has over 45% of its people involved in foreign education in the USA. Can you imagine? This is how endowed Nigeria is, of course, in the aspect of human resources, all right? He said in the technological fields and the medical fields are so resident in the US, improving the US economy at a high rate. So the US can never turn their back on Nigeria and on its political system. That is to say that, according to Mr. Bruce there, the US is going to majestically walk into this case concerning the INEC and the Labour Party. And of course, Nigeria should expect a form of succor coming soon, not just from the judiciary, but from the international communities. That is that from our update this morning on Nation's Voice Tower. I will urge you to drop, of course, your reaction in the comment section, like our videos, and then subscribe to Nation's Voice Tower. And don't forget to share our videos too, because these are criteria that YouTube uses to recommend our videos to people in Nigeria and in diaspora. All right, we'll be back with more political updates. Don't get it twisted. Don't touch that dial. From me here is peace out.